Hi, I'm Christopher Walker with Closely Observed Literature, and after a long hiatus I'm back and I'm going to start things rolling with a quick review of this, which is The Last Days by Laurent Seksik. Welcome back to the channel. So this is another in a long line of wonderful books published by Pushkin Press. They get a lot of European writers, and they explore very interesting aspects of life and the world. This is certainly no exception. It's a triumph of a novel, really, when you think about it, because the author had really taken a big risk. So in brief, the story is about the last days in the life of the great writer Stefan Zweig. He died in 1942 of suicide, and he took his wife with him. So the story itself is massively tragic, really, really sad. But this is no biography. It's a fictionalized biography or retelling of those last days. Seksik tries to get into the head of both Zweig and his wife, Lotte, his second wife, which is actually quite important to know. I didn't know this when I I knew a little bit about Stefan Zweig, and I knew a little bit about his work because of the Wes Anderson film, first of all, Grand Budapest Hotel. But I didn't really know much else. I think I've read, what was it, Casanova? I think that was it, the biography that Zweig wrote of Casanova. That was pretty good. And I've got Beware of Pity waiting on my shelf at home. So Zweig, as we know, is a wonderful writer, acclaimed, and with good reason. So the risk that Seksik took, first of all, was to try to get into the head of such a brilliant writer. How can you do that and do him justice? Well, I think he's managed the act very well. It's written in a very serious style. It's not kind of light-hearted, as you would expect from such a tragic story, and it's sophisticated. It's classically written, so in a way that doesn't draw attention to itself. So what of the story itself? So when the Nazis came to power, Zweig left Austria, his native land. He always felt homesick. He travelled first to London, then to New York, and tried to kind of bury himself in his writing. That was his escape from the crushing reality of life. Along the way, he left his first wife, but as the book suggests, he kind of never really let go of that first relationship. So Lotte, his second younger wife, is plagued by doubts about where his affection really lies. And this is what really leads to the tragedy at the conclusion. And I could say spoiler alert, but if you're watching this channel, you're probably familiar with Stefan Zweig, and you're probably familiar with his life, at least a little bit. So he was haunted, he felt pursued, and even when he went to Brazil, he felt, whenever he heard anything even slightly German, he started thinking, have they found me? Are they coming to get me? He truly believed, according to this book at least, that the goal of the Nazis was the total and entire extermination of the Jewish race. I suppose he was not wrong. So he felt like it was just a matter of time, and he didn't want to be taken that way. He'd heard of what had happened in the concentration camps to friends of his, people that he knew. So many people close to him had died in those awful circumstances, and I think he just wanted to avoid that for himself and for his wife. But the idea of taking somebody with you to not have, I don't know, I'm on the point of saying he didn't have the chutzpah, the balls to do it himself on his own and leave his wife behind. I think he didn't. I don't know, it's hard to say because we don't know what happened at the end. This kind of suggests certain things, fairly or unfairly. It's hard for us to say. I wonder how his descendants, how Zweig's descendants would approach this book and how they would feel about it. If it was about my family, we have suicide in our family, and I would wonder, I don't know, if somebody ever wrote about that, suggesting certain things, I might not take it too well. I don't know. It's a very difficult situation. But yeah, I read the final pages with a knot in my stomach. And I suppose that's the mark of great literature. It's emotive, it's powerful in that sense, but still, I recommend the book. I think it's a fascinating read, and it raises a lot of truly fascinating questions, and you will have a long time after you've read this. You will spend a lot of time dwelling over it, what it means, and what lessons we should learn from it, if any. So yes, this is the main library here in Bielsko, the city where I find myself living these days. It's not a bad library. They've got a few books in English. I've got more at home, I'm glad to say. And on that note, I shall say farewell for now. I bid you adieu, and good reading.